years of just grabbing snippets of different ones, and having to take Keon out, Ernie G, and I'm just listening and I'm writing down as I'm going the names of folks that for whatever reason are no longer with us.
Right.
Rick gone.
Yep.
Mary Bryant no longer here.
Really?
Dude, what the hell?
I find this stuff out on the air.
Keith Parris no longer with us.
Really?
You find that out on there, right?
I like that.
Here come Alex knocking on the door. Hey, can I just on the break? Can we have and bring your stuff?
Yeah, bring that out.
Bring that all out. Let me do this real quickly. Our question today, and you all can think about it, is if you were president of the United States, would you pardon your child? I just want you to, if you had the power to pardon your child, would you think about it? We'll move on. And then also, and I'm going to give you the definition for it, Oxford Dictionary, the word of the year. Oxford,
which I have not used not one single time.
The word of the year.
Mm-hmm. And most people I know have not used it not one single time.
The word of the year.
This is the white people word of the year because when nobody black saying this word, but go ahead.
Oh, I got the black people's word of the year.
Yeah, we
keep on talking. But yeah,
the
word of the year. I'm gonna give you our word.
White
Just
people
keep on
word
talking.
of the year because nobody
do
black.
the word first.
Well, go and get your word out.
Brain rot.
Who used that word?
Who?
Brain rot.
Brain rot.
Ain't nobody use that word, but white people. There ain't nobody.
That's not true.
Did you use it all year? No.
My mother.
I listened to your show. You ain't listen. You ain't use that word. Go ahead.
I don't read comic books. And the reason why I don't read comic books is that my mother said to me that comic books are a brain rot. That word has been around, but brain rot.
It's been around for a long time.
So
like,
that's
literally, I think that's
Oxford. Okay, Michelle, you can come up with your word.
But
when you do your
I'm
dictionary.
just saying, have you? And you are a wordsmith of sorts, low budget one, but you're a wordsmith of sorts. Have you used the?
I'm the Walmart.
Have you used that term, brain rot, or
Yes.
is one word this year?
Yes.
When?
I was talking about you behind your back. And I said, the problem with Michelle is she's dealing with a bad case of brain rot.
Have not used it now one time this year.
I didn't say it was Keith's word of the year. I said it was Oxford's.
And, but it's based on usage.
Right. And it must be used.
Anybody black said brain. Anybody black said brain rot, call the radio station 414-444-5250.
And if I said this yesterday, you said I wasn't black. 3 times yesterday.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I said there were black people in the room and I named them.
Right, you said there's 5 people in the room. You said 4 of them were black.
I didn't say who was I didn't call no names. Carby, shut up. Carby, get on my nerves.
Michelle, you're going to learn something. You're going to learn something.
When the mom and daddy,
stop wasting your lives.
When the mom and daddy be getting into it and the kids be listening, they be like,
that was, getting ready for Thanksgiving. Kennedy was off on the Wednesday and Friday after Thanksgiving. So the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we're going through all week. So we're arguing about, we're getting ready to turn into it. And Kennedy, the picture you saw her cooking the cranberry, she turned around on the ladder.
Wait, who arguing? You around?
Okay. She turned around on the ladder and she waiting. Y'all gonna argue? There we go. No, not in front of you, because she just turned around and
getting ready for the show.
Oh man, we tried not to fight in front of the kids, but it could get. So anyway, you were talking about the meeting that you had yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Around MPS.
Yes.
You were talking about the North Side schools.
Mm-hmm.
There are 29,000 students in the choice program.
Mm-hmm.
And in Milwaukee, many of those, and you take the high schools out, because I was really surprised the numbers at Parris and others, but if you we didn't take those numbers. A lot of that depopulation of MPS, and particularly on the north side, is a direct result of parents sending their kids to choice schools. Yeah, about 30,000 students.
Yeah, we went from 100,000 roughly in MPS down. What? Oh, we went from 100,000 students roughly in NPS to about 70,000, a little under 70,000 is what the projection is. And, when you account for kids that may have moved out of the district, kids that moved, out of the state, whatever, the bulk of the explanation is that most of these kids have now ended up in choice programs. When we've looked at the expansion of choice, the reduction in qualifications to be able to access the program.
Let me do a shout out to Lena.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lena was one of the advocates of saying, man, you just can't say you got to have some qualifications for teachers.
Oh, yeah.
Because originally there were none.
I watched her stand on the Senate floor and be reduced to tears as she tried to say, you at least have to have a high school diploma to stand up in front of a classroom and teach our children. Yeah. And one of the things, her and Pedro Colon, they died on the Hill for this particular point when he was in the legislature. And I remember Lena saying to her white colleagues that was, basically pushing this, she said, none of you in this room would allow your child to be in a classroom in an educational system in which the teacher didn't even have a high school diploma, and you know it.
Well, Rhonda, when she was talking with her then boss, and you find a lot of business people really pro-choice,
mm-hmm.
and Rhonda asked him, would you send your kids any of those schools? Why would I?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to get into the quality issue. Let's just talk quantitatively what we're talking about. And let me do this whole thing. You all hear me talking about my Dominican high school education. Here's the difference. My money stayed at MPS. And on top of the money, my mom then paid for me to go to high school. And so I advocate this. If you want a private education, okay. Now, the question is, why did my mom even think it was necessary over 50 years ago to even send me to a private school? It kind of tells you where it was. And it wasn't that MPS didn't have good schools. It did. But for many of us, we were so segregated, right? Talking about overcrowded. When you were talking about Douglas, what used to be Parkman, that school was overcrowded. They had like close to 2,000 students in that school.
What?
Yeah, it was packed. But it was because of the rigid segregation, right? And so you really couldn't, because you had to go to the school in your district, right? And then, and I saw the same thing, they compared Milwaukee to Boston, and they did the same thing in Boston. The reason why we had these junior high schools was then the junior high school was the feeder school, right?
Right.
So if I went to Parkman, then I was a feeder for King.
Okay.
Right? That's my district. If I wanted to go to Riverside, I'd have to transfer. If I wanted to go to Marshall, I'd have to transfer. Even if I wanted to go to North, I'd have to transfer. Basically, because it was so rigid, the district that you lived in, you have to live in. Then people say, we should do neighborhood schools. Now, I'm going to disagree with you on this. I think whatever for people, when it comes to your kids, when it comes to their education, you're going to do, people move to municipalities based on the school system, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things.
But my point is broader than just an individual parent. I'm looking at it also from the perspective of community, civic leaders, business leaders in communities, that we have to have a collective interest in making sure these schools perform.
Right.
And I'm also going to say this. And I'm a little bit different. I wanted my son in a good school. And I feel like my son was fortunate. He went to Milwaukee School of Languages for his middle school.
Okay.
And he went to King for high school.
And it was baccalaureate by the time he got there.
And so, he was definitely in blue ribbon, high performing schools. But I was not willing to take him out of the public school system. I wanted him to be educated in public schools. That was number one. Number two, I was engaged at those schools and was willing to make it and advocate for what I thought that they needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just was fortunate. Balistrieri did all the heavy lifting when he was at King, you know, so all I had to do was say something to Balistrieri. And if it made sense to him, and I didn't have to argue the point with him, then Balistrieri was going to figure out how to make
And what was the level of
those things
engagement
happen.
of parents at Rufus King?
Yeah, I mean, parents were engaged.
Because that is...
But I also want to be careful about how we frame engagement, because these were such, in my son's case, and in the track he was on, these were such high-performing kids that I got to be honest, my level of engagement didn't have to be a ton, you know, because the kids was on it. You know, I just need to, like, where to send a check for the fundraiser, or y'all going to where did he go, to Spain? Here go to the field trip money. You know, I went to the meetings, I heard what was going on, but Balistrieri ran such a tight ship that I just got to be honest. The better some of these schools are, in some cases, parents don't have to work as hard.
Okay.
Because your kids have what they need foundationally. They are resourced well. You know, I did more work with schools that were underperforming in terms of advocating and making sure that they had what they needed. Right. And that's like that quiet little secret, because a lot of parents of high performing students get all this credit, like, oh, it's the parental involvement. Some of that's BS. The system is set up in such a way that it operates, and your kid is functioning at such a level, I don't have to hover and make sure you good. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I sometimes, and this sounds a little janky, but I think, you know, it's some BS about how much credit some of these parents get of high performing kids. You've created an environment for that in your home. You know, you support financially what they need, but you don't have to be that hands-on at the school like that. You just don't.
And I think, you know, finding ourselves, and you've been in PWIs, you know, I went from very a school, and look, academically, you know, if you were at certain pockets of Parkman, you did very well. There were great teachers there. You were in great classes. But one of the issues was, you know, what happens to my child going forward? And my mother, who really valued learning, just thought, and it wasn't like she went and found Dominican. Actually, I brought home a brochure. I went to a student exchange. Mm-hmm. And my mother made that decision. She made it, you know, and it was the sacrifice. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, my attitude was like the white students out there, you know.
Which was what?
I never saw myself as, hey, you know, we're groundbreakers out here and we're doing it for our people. I was trying to be a normal student. And because I wanted to go to Marshall. I didn't want to go to Parkman. You know,
and the whole thing for me, which is interesting, because I didn't have to think about it until I came to Milwaukee and started hearing a lot of people that were my age talking about, you know, that work to desegregate, and I got air quotes up, MPS, and, you know, like, this was the 70s, you know, I'm like asking like some of these crazy questions, because I had the benefit of always going to integrated districts. Mm-hmm. So I like the stuff that people talk about, like, none of that was my experience. We didn't deal with
y'all got free quicker in the South than we did up here, because when you look at Chicago school systems.
Well, I mean, it was like New York, because I started school in New York, mm-hmm. and finished in the South. And, you know, everybody was in my classroom. I had whites, Mexicans.
Well, depending on your neighborhood.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, yeah, we had all of that. So diversity was always relevant and prevalent in our district. When I went south, it was more black folks, so we didn't deal with it. Mm-hmm. And black folks down there, they like, you ain't making nobody go nowhere. Everybody, because you wanted to go to this high school or that high school, and that's where we went.
And I think the other piece is you were talking about the composition of the school board. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we talk about MTEA, and what the teachers union is, but then there's another factor out there too, right? And that's the business folks who put their folks on the board. I mean, because this idea that we're going to defund, and this is part
But
of
literally, how many business folks,
well,
how many school board members can we even think of that got a strong tie to the business community right now?
I think of some former ones who did.
I know formally because, you would see MMAC
Yep.
and different groups really playing a hand in what was happening on that school board. I haven't seen that in a while, though.
Because it's MTA.
Yeah, MTA has been so successful
And
in
that's
dominating the board
and when you have that in
and
terms,
monopolizing.
right, it's supposed to be representative, but look, people there are trying to promote their interests. Part of Project 2025 is to expand where choice is available everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Now let's see, and again, you know this, you've seen in the legislature where those outside of Milwaukee, outside of Beloit, outside of Racine, Kenosha, maybe a little bit of Dane County, these other school districts don't want choice because they understand. Look, if the state of Wisconsin was so concerned about that, what they would have done, this is just Keith, they would have said, you know what, we're going to put $1 billion or whatever, $500 million into it, and then you go, not take money away from a school district. And then there's certain things that some of the private schools don't offer, special education. A quarter of NPS's population, their student population, is special needs. 1/4. That's a significant amount of resources going into just getting people up to where they're at. And then they're not even that, you're talking about less than double digits in terms of what the performance level is.
Yeah, and the idea that you literally can send those kids, they're here, didn't realize necessarily these were the needs. We don't want to deal. We're not equipped to deal. Whatever the rationale is, that kid is not going to be able to stay here.
Right. And I think statutorily,
but the money stays.
NPS is required to educate a person up to 21.
Yeah.
And so when you look,
NPS has responsibilities that are mandated by law that a lot of these other operations do not have to abide by.
Can you explain to me what former school director Carr was saying when she said that District 4 was what? So I was trying to figure out the math on that.
So the way I'm thinking about it is, if you look at, because some of these districts, you would like, when I thought about like assembly districts, most assembly districts on average have about 57,000 people in them.
Right.
And they try to divide it up so population wise it's a balance. But we know that there are some districts that are just more dense. Mm-hmm. And so they may have more people. Then if you think about the businesses that are in those districts, the dollars that get generated in those districts that pay into the tax system to be able to go towards public education, that there may be more businesses, more higher income earners in a district, even though the children themselves that attend NPS may be poorer, but the people that live around that district, because you got to think 4th district. So like what major companies are in that district?
I don't even know what the 4th district is.
So you know what, and I'll have my phone in front of me. But I want to say, so she has North Division in her district.
That's the only high school in the district.
That's the only high school in the district.
And there's nobody in it, which is amazing.
What do you mean?
Because it's one of the low population.
Yeah, low population.
Yeah.
But it's just been through so many, different iterations.
30
like, it's
years.
Just crazy.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Yeah. So basically, though, the idea that this district generates more dollars that go into the tax base, but yet this district is being put. Because you think about, like, we can say, and I'm gonna move it outside of the schools and put it in communities. You got a lot of high income earners on the northwest side of Milwaukee, because that's where a lot of the teachers, firefighters, civil service workers went to still meet residency requirements.
Right.
So the income is a little bit different out there. Mm-hmm. But they don't have as many children out there.
Right.
But they're still paying into the system.
Right.
So they can generate more money for a district than some of the other areas, like a 53206 that may be economically depressed. And the bulk of the money is coming from out there. So I think that was kind of the conversation, is that when you look at the composition of the district, that more revenue is being generated in that district that pays into the tax system to educate these children.
So, and again, and I didn't study. I didn't study pedagogy, which is education, teaching children. So why do we even have these? Is it districts for representation? Why, when you just have one big, where maybe that's socialism? Well, public schools is socialism. I'm just trying to figure out, because the whole funding thing, because you could have a school like King, MLK, here on MLK, I mean on, what would it be, 3rd Street. And what is the percentage of special needs students in that school?
Okay, yeah.
And they require more resources,
Right.
Just because of the needs. And so I'm not surprised when you talk about the empty buildings on the north side, because at the same time, I would say not all, but a significant number of those students are enrolled in choice or charter schools. So,
I mean, while it's okay to say I'm not surprised, on one hand, you got to also be willing to acknowledge that a lot of these students have also just shifted to the south side of Milwaukee. Not just that they went to choice, because you're continuing to see growth and expansion on the south side.
but you have an expansion.
So that's just
and
not
growth
all new babies.
in the well, yeah, but
anymore.
probably because if you look at the Hispanic Latino community, you're probably seeing more children, and if they're concentrating in a certain area, then that would make sense. I don't know how many people, other than people driving to Reagan's on the south side, right? If there's a school, but there's always been where, not always, it has been where some people, you've had to go to schools outside of your district, either because it was the best school. If you're, I would think I would want my child in the best and most challenging academic environment. Oh, and by the way, speaking of children and education, I was telling my mom asked how old Atlas was. I said 5. She said he's 5. And then my mom would go, "Oh, I know he's smart." I said, "Yeah. It is."
I literally said when I came back that I told my son, hey, he gonna need some boxing classes and some karate classes.
What is the Willie Geist joke? It is not if he's going to get beat up, it's how bad he's going to get beat up, right? Because he's so much
He
smarter.
don't have to have, his daddy got crazy street swag. His dad was smart and street savvy. His dad was also big.
Right.
So that stopped a lot of foolishness, because
Right.
you had to think twice about running up on my son. Atlas is going to be tall and slim, I think. And
we tell Kennedy, say you're smart, not I'm smarter than you.
I mean, like I was telling somebody, he used the word consecutively, because he said we were making Christmas ornaments and then we were going to do something else. And he said, can we do them consecutively, Grandma?
Oh, they're dropping the words.
I was like,
but that shows you the quality. Well, not only, here's the other piece of it.
consecutively.
Here's the other piece. It is, and I know some of us are in distress situations in our home, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it makes a difference what you do in terms of what you expose your children to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just even the conversation, literally him and his mom were talking, and she said, what do you want for breakfast? And he said, blah, blah, blah. And she said, and breakfast is, he said, a 2-syllable word. And I'm sitting there going, whose conversation is this over, grapes and blueberries or whatever he was eating? Whose conversation is this? But literally, and he knew, so clearly this is something they do. And breakfast is a 2-syllable word. And
maybe because we're educated formally.
Yeah.
We understand the importance and the power of education. I think other people have other priorities, and look, I can't get on somebody because they're trying to get out and do, they're in the struggle every day. And then we're talking like looking down the line, but it's amazing when you look at these school districts, and many of them are certainly urban school districts, and certain rural districts are suffering. And a lot of it is not so much the schools as it is the sociological demographics of the kids who are coming into those schools, coming to school hungry. they're coming to school, like in Waukesha, because Waukesha wants to act as if they don't have any poor people
Right.
in Waukesha. So we're not going to take free lunch.
Right.
Well, you do have poor people living
Exactly.
here, you know, and that becomes, sometimes you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you sit up dealing with the stigma of being poor.
And, you know, I'm just sorry too, working in the state capitol, I thought about this. I didn't say it at the session last night, but I do also wonder what goes on in some of these suburban districts. And I definitely have been in enough of them, either training or, you know, guest speaking or doing different stuff, that I see, you know, that some of these suburban students are much more advanced in their communication skills, in the resources that are available, in the way they comprehend and digest information. I do see that there are some differences. And it doesn't matter if those kids are black or white in those settings, they perform in some cases differently. But the one thing I will say, working at the state capitol and getting interns from UW-Madison, some of these white suburban school teachers is lying about the abilities of some of these students. Because when I say write a paper or write an article or write this, or if I give them work assignments and now I'm looking at the quality of this work coming back, and then I'm like, so you were a 4.0 student at your high school and you were blah, blah, blah.
You know what
I don't believe none of that.
You know what blew me away? When you go across, because when Caitlin had moved to Greenfield, you know, and Kennedy's getting ready to start school, and Kennedy came from a very, very, very competitive preschool, right? And so it was like, oh, okay, let's see what's. So I started just looking. First of all, the entire state, on average, is below 50% when it comes to proficiency in math and reading. Mm-hmm. The entire state,
right?
Now I would have thought it was no, and then you find that's so. We want to believe that it is just Black, brown students who are suffering or who are struggling in school, and then we find out that no, it's statewide.
Yeah,
and then you exacerbate some other things like racism, systemic racism, that just makes it worse. But you know,
I just think that some of these kids are being given either the benefit of the doubt or being given some help along the way that has elevated GPAs, elevated grades. And I'm looking at some of these young people I've engaged, and I'm like, somebody is telling the tale.
And let me get back to this piece about Parkman and where we were culturally. I had a teacher I tell you about, Evelyn, Dr. Higginsbottom.
Yes.
Here's the thing about our cultural awareness. We were literal. We were literate. And what that means is we read. We were reading. It wasn't nobody. No, we were reading. And so even then, it was still academic, culturally relevant, but it was still academic because I had to read. And one of the first books she put in our hands was Before the Mayflower.
That came before the Mayflower.
Yep. Which was Lerone Bennett Jr., right? And so it was always that reading part of it. I think we have to value. There was an article I read Sunday in the New York Times that I on ignorance. And someone texted me talking about brain rot, and he said that describes a lot of Trump supporters. I think that was another reason why that word was one of the words of the year this year. But ignorance, and how, I don't know if you heard me say this, don't celebrate your ignorance. Ignorance is not, don't celebrate it.
What does that mean?
You know what it means.
I don't.
I don't know. I don't care.
Oh.
Well, you ignorant. Now, here's the thing about
me. Celebrated though when you say I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what you think.
And Devo, why do you do that? I don't know. And I don't care.
You didn't feel bad.
That's right.
But no, that whole thing about, look, it is not that you went to college that makes you smart.
Right.
So let's just get that off the table.
Right.
Some of the stupidest people I ever met was in college.
J.D. Vance, but keep going.
Wrote a great book, though, Michelle. I remember my advisor, my academic advisor, Dr. Ken Eshelman, who was a Mennonite. It was really fascinating. And my sophomore year, my freshman year, I was an academic star. My sophomore year, I transferred, and I got all kind of stuff going on. So at the end of the year, I'm thinking, I'm pretty close to either getting kicked out or getting put on probation. Right? That's the kind of year I had my sophomore year. So I'm meeting with him. You have to declare your major at the end of your sophomore year. And so I tell him, I want to major in political science. He said, Mr. Parris, let me tell you something. Now, I'm at Mount St. Mary's, which is 97% white. He goes, there are a lot of students who have no business being here. He said, but you're not one of them. And I thought, damn, wow, okay. So just him saying that to me said, okay, because my mother she always knew she had smart kids, but you know how black people are. You're not allowed to tell your kids they're smart. You don't want them to get a big head. You know, but my mom knew. So that was like when Miss Beeman wanted to put me in Special C. Mama go, ain't nothing wrong with that boy. Unlike Monique's mama, ain't nothing wrong with him.
What is Special C?
Well, y'all call it special ed now. Special C was a special class.
Got it.
And never saw a girl in Special C.
And and it's interesting because I know that parents didn't want you to get the big head for a couple of reasons. Number one, they didn't want you to get beat up at school.
That didn't stop anything.
You had siblings, and they wanted to protect the other siblings who might not have been as academically, had those skills.
Hold on, just a minute. You said something there, and I need to correct that sentence for you.
What?
You said academically.
Right.
That's different than being smart.
Well, yeah.
Because I was never accused of being a student.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I was enrolled. Right.
That's fair.
So academic, but yeah, I mean, just know innately that you're smart.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, but okay, I'll accept that. But I'm still saying, like, you're smart. I mean, because there were some kids that academically they had to work hard,
right,
but academically they were great.
Oh yeah. And
so you couldn't even acknowledge that because you didn't want the other siblings to feel bad who did not do or have or whatever. But like in our household, man, cutthroat. Oh yeah, she brilliant, and you a dummy. And if you don't get your act together, you gonna end up picking up kids.
When your parent call you,
I mean, I'm just saying, like, mom and them didn't they ain't trying to sugarcoat that for you. You as a dummy, like, oh my god. And and I walk by and be like, ooh, it's just
you ain't talking about me.
And no, man, like they didn't have that. There was not that. I mean, they loved you. They wanted you to succeed. But man,
it was like the time
call you out.
I was grown.
You done.
And me and my mama was having this vigorous discussion. My mom political. Yes. She go, and she said, that's your opinion. I'm on the road because I won it now. I don't win a lot of these. I'm going to go in for the kill. My mother put a break on that. She said, you know what? What, Mom? She said, I should have put your blank in special school. And there she go. And you can take that any way you want. So at first I thought it was like a compliment. Then I go, oh no, she just did a clinical diagnosis. Like, boy, what is your major malfunction?
Whatever you want to take.
Whatever you want to take.
You ain't winning, bro.
Oh, you ain't. But I think, and so that's a different piece. But systemically, where we are, I think we should value learning. I'm going to take education out of it. Value learning.
And that's what even I say about people that are willing to be lifelong learners.
Got to be.
That's like how you keep your brain from going to mush too.
Doing this program, for me anyway, makes me a learner.
You have to. You got to stay abreast. You got to look. You got to research. That part is so critical.
And making up stuff gets exhausting.
I know. Ask Debo. His whole life is made up. You ain't in this. You ain't talking. Stay out of it. But can I answer your question real quick? Because I gotta go.
I know you gotta go.
But let me answer your question. Well, hell, the show's over. What time is it? Oh, it's only 10. Okay. Let me see. My watch is fast.
China.
I never set my watch back.
What?
Nah, my watch is still an hour ahead.
What kind of watch you got that don't set itself?
Manual with a pull steel?
You got one of those designers. Is that a Rolex?
Carly says you got a Debo watch. There's a whole Devo line of clothing and accessories.
I didn't know nothing about that polo until y'all was telling me about the polo.
Polo assassin. I love it. Devo got them too. They in his closet too. But your question, if I could, that you put out at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
I talked about it a little bit, and I actually was going to talk about it today, but I realized I had guests, and people know I can stay way too long on a topic. That used to crack me up. Keith Murphy, who used to be at 1290.
One of the greatest voices.
Yeah, his voice was amazing. But
God.
Keith Murphy, me and him used to get into it all the time because Keith Murphy would do his show like a magazine, and he would always say turning the page as when he got ready to go to a new subject. Keith would allot like 15 minutes for a topic, maybe 7, depending on the subject. And when he was done, he was done. And you would be like trying to call, like, I wanted to go back. Keith's like, we've turned the page, turning the page. And I used to be like, Keith, let people have an opportunity to have a conversation, man. He was like, Michelle, do you know how much we have to cover in a program? And I was like, but you get to decide that. No. Our community's ignorance determines that we have to
the OCI.
give as much information as possible. But so I had brought this up on yesterday, and I've been listening. I listened to Tavis Smiley. He just on the whole. Whatever.
He's on the thing.
Yeah. And so, and then everybody, what about the black people? What about all the weed smokers that, was drug addicted that's in jail? What about the black people? And I'm listening. And then, people, I was listening this morning on Sirius XM, and I'm sick of black folks trying to identify with Joe Biden. Somebody, if it was my child, it ain't going to never be your child. It ain't your situation. So I'm trying to identify with something that ain't going to never happen to you. So I'm just listening. I'm just listening to it all play out. But the difference for me, I believe that had Kamala Harris been elected, Joe Biden would have left that process alone.
Yep.
He would have left it alone. And he would have been committed to letting it play out. But when you got somebody who has said, I plan to be as vindictive as I possibly can, and you realize that your son was a sitting duck for any future harassment cases. Yes.
That's why they went back 10 years because of Burisma.
And so it's like, you know what? If I thought my son was going to be handled and treated fairly, I would leave him out here in the wolves.
Okay.
But Trump has indicated, and the people that he has identified as potential leadership, cabinet, administrative positions, that they are willing to do his bidding and be vindictive and nasty. And I'm not going to put my kid through that.
Okay, but you're doing it from Biden's perspective.
Well,
let's do it now. Michelle Bryant.
Okay.
Is POTUS. And now
I'm actually doing that from my perspective because
and let's talk about the seriousness. The seriousness.
Jared would have had to play that out. That whole thing would have had to play out. But if I thought he was going to be treated fairly and he was going, because a portion of this, I do believe, prosecution was because you were the president, you were Biden's son.
Didn't it start under the Trump? Did it start?
Yeah, it started under Trump.
Right.
And then you got Republicans specifically holding all these committee hearings, trying to, pile on. So this was all politically motivated. So I realized that, number one, even though my child made some mistakes, you in this position because of me.
Wasn't that infamous phone call around when he called the president of Ukraine? Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was whole Burisma thing. Can you find something on Joe Biden's son?
And I'm not going to give you resources.
Right.
So agree to open investigation.
So, okay.
So I believe it was politically motivated.
Okay.
But I think had this just been any other situation, like in an everyday regular life, your kid mess up, most people are going to say you're going to have to deal with them consequences. At least in my family, that's how we was raised. My granddaddy made it clear. You Negroes get in trouble after everything I done did to set y'all up, and you go out here and mess it up, don't call me.
Other than black entertainers, who go to jail for taxes anyway?
Yeah, nobody.
I should say black because Nick Cage, right?
Yeah, well,
Nick Cage, right?
But it's
So what I'm because the seriousness of lying on an application, boy, that never happens. But
I mean, that original plea deal that was offered to him would have been standard, what most people would have got.
Right.
And so you realize that this was more, and that these people weren't just trying to get justice for whatever wrongs he had done. This was about punishment and revenge and hatefulness. This wasn't just a regular prosecution.
Didn't Bill Clinton pardon his brother-in-law?
He did.
Okay.
He did. And didn't Donald Trump pardon his son-in-law's daddy and all his boys?
Right.
Manafort, Michael Flynn. What's that boy's name that looked like he from a musical? I can't think of his name. But look at all of the people that Donald Trump pardoned. All of them was his crew.
Mm-hmm.
You pardoned your friends and your in-laws. And so all of this upheaval about, Biden should have done that. I think he wouldn't have messed with it if Kamala had been elected.
Okay. So that's the political piece of it.
Okay.
And that makes sense, right? It would have. But if I'm a parent, my inclination would be, based on the seriousness of, he didn't do insurrection. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't steal any money. He lied on the application, lied about his income on taxes. People do it every day.
Right.
They ain't necessarily sitting in.
Well, let me be clear. I don't, but
okay.
Right.
But I've said people. I didn't say all people.
Yeah,
people. So I was sitting up there thinking, if I'm a parent, I probably would have. I think I would have. Now, again, based on where Biden was 6 months ago when he said he wouldn't do it, that was a political thing. That whole political piece, the
no, I believe he believed it. I believe that when he said I wouldn't do it, he believed it. Joe Biden is old school. There is accountability. This is a man who has tried to be responsible his whole life, in terms of raising his kids. His wife dies. You don't hear no crazy stories about infidelity, him cheating nobody. You just don't hear that. So on some vein, and I'm not saying all the decisions that he's made, both politically, ideologically, even morally, have always been right, but he's a fairly straight shooter in the way he behaves. Right. And he's old school. I could see him saying, no, you did the crime, you're going to have to do the time. What? But if the time is being applied fairly, and I'm saying as a parent, I wouldn't have had a problem with my son having to be held accountable, as long as I believe that you're being treated fairly.
Well, I think, and that gets to this whole idea of definition of what justice is. Justice is to get your due. And justice needs to be mitigated. You just don't go and no one is saying you be absolute. Now, there's some people out there just really absolute when it comes to justice. But if it's your kid, you're in a different situation. That would be politically, I understand that, but then it's also personal.
But I'm just saying, I do believe that there are people that, even though that's their child, they're still able to make the separation and say something was done inappropriately or, illegally, and you got to be responsible for that. And I'm going to be there with you while you go through it. I got money on your books. I'm coming to visit you. I'm going to come see you. But this is a part of it because I have spent my life teaching you not to do dumb stuff. And you decided to do that. So there are consequences that come with bad actions, and there are parents that are willing to let those consequences play out.
Yeah, but if you had the power, for example,
I wouldn't stop it.
If my you wouldn't.
No, if I even having the power, because I think about it in my life, I've had the power to stop some bad things from happening. Now I'm gonna tell you the one thing I did do. What
you do?
And I've talked about this before on the radio. When my son was 18, we were going on vacation. And I was driving to Florida, so I didn't want to put all the miles on my car. I rented a Cadillac, brand new. It had 3 miles on it or 6 miles on it when I took it off the showroom. I mean, off the floor. Elite status at Hertz or whatever. And so that's how I roll. My son wanted to mail his tape to the University of Michigan for his football stuff. we were gone in the other cars, but the Cadillac was there. And he said, Mom, can I take the Cadillac to the rental car and go drop this off in the mail? I said, do not take that car. You are not on that car. As a driver, don't take that car. We went, we came home. My friend, Cynthia Wilson, when we pulled up to the house, the Cadillac was gone. And she was like, you want me to take you to look for him? I said, no, I know what he did. He went to the post office to drop off that tape. Cynthia got probably about a block and a half from my house, and she called me back. She said, it was either Cynthia or it was Tan. It might have been Tan. But it was one of them. And my friend Tan. But they called me back and they said, yeah, he ain't dead, but he totaled that car. You want me to come get you? It was literally a block from my house, right on Roosevelt and 50 something Roosevelt. So I said, no, I can walk down there. And sure enough, he done totaled this Cadillac. And he tore up another vehicle in the process. He was trying to cross Roosevelt. There was a huge embankment of snow. He couldn't see on the other side of it. He goes across. A van is coming. The van hits him, sends his car sailing up into somebody's yard on Roosevelt. The impact was so bad, it burnt the bottom of his sweatpants off his behind. And the officers, when I walked up, said, he ain't dead, but he out. Okay. Hertz Rent-A-Car said, somebody got to pay for this. He was not listed as a driver. So we going to need our whole $67,000, whatever that Cadillac costs. We're going to need that from you, Miss Bryant. Or you're going to need to report to the police that he stole the vehicle, took it without your permission, and then we can go after him and try to either, get him prosecuted, or what they said they would do is they would have his license suspended until he could pay the damages for that car. And I thought about that. I said, my child's 18 years old. I am not getting ready to put you in a situation at 18 where you are already damn near $70,000, $80,000 in debt and would not have access to a driver's license until said debt was paid. And so I took the hit. I would not turn him in. I would not say he took the car without permission. And literally, I was placed on a list that would not allow me to rent a car ever again because I would not do that. And so I don't rent cars. And now, because of some other programs that are out there, I'm able to rent cars through other programs, but I can't go to Hertz or Avis or anywhere to rent a car anymore because I would not say that my son took that car without my permission. So I think as parents, you do think about long-term impact. You think about consequences. Now, at the age that Bo is at, I'm not having that same conversation because you good and grown. Mess with your brother's wife and all kind of dumb shit. You good and grown. But at 18 and understanding how an 18-year-old mind works and that was not intentional, I make a different decision. And like we just mentioned it the other day, my son he was like, Mom, I just still can't believe, because I never told him that. I waited till my son was at least 30 before I shared with him, I can't rent a car because of that situation. And, and you could just see it like messed him up. He was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. I said, no, I don't rent cars. That's why I have to do what I do. But you make a decision as parents. But at 40, man, I can't keep covering for you.
But it's always going to be, it's like you're going and complaining about your parents doing more for a sibling. And then they'll kind of tell you, well, that's my child.
Or as my mother would say, y'all got different needs.
Never felt that way.
As it took me being good and grown for my mom to one day explain that, Michelle, y'all got different needs. And there are things that you do that I don't have to worry about you. And, I'm like, oh, so I'm penalized because I'm responsible. Mm-hmm. I'm penalized because,
You're the oldest, right?
I work and I am the oldest. And she said, I just don't have to worry about you. I have to worry about your brother. And most of the decisions got made, it was based on her worrying about my brother.
'Cause my mama never worried about my feelings. I'm just telling you, she never worried about my feelings. I'd be like, but no.
But in the same breath, as you always say,
Hey,
she paid full
Devo,
freight
can you do me a
for you
favor,
to get
man?
that education.
Can you move the couch in?
Just, it's
Go here and get on the
It's
couch
already-
right now.
Right, on the couch with Michelle.
but she paid full freight.
Right.
You know, because and what we say, the stuff that our
And
parents
here's the
didn't
other-
say, but what they
But
did.
here's the other piece of it. We never know what we do until we find ourselves in that situation, right?
That's true. I used to say that as a social.
Theoretically, I can go, oh no, because the law is the law. But now, and even your kid, you got your family going.
I mean, because even when people are like, I never kill somebody.
No, don't know until
Let the situation be right.
Well, thank you for that.
Well, thank you, sir.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
interested to see what your people say.
Yeah, callers, we'd love to hear.
1 hour session is now up with the illustrious, the one and the only
Such a
Michelle. Michelle.
such a
Bryant. You're Bryant.
we rolling R's up in here. We doing the deride. We rolling R's.
Bryant.
Who knows? Arthur Burks.
That's our
That's who rolls the R's.
I have not seen the ambassador in a minute.
Yeah, I seen him in a minute for real. But
Don't
yeah.
talk him up. Don't talk him up. Don't talk him up.
Last time I saw the ambassador, we were at okay, it's been a minute. My former classmate.
Arthur Burks did?
Yeah, Arthur.
Did he roll the R's back then?
Oh, Arthur, they were like adults. They were 2 years ahead of us. So,
Oh, okay.
The ninth graders were like adults.
Well, you said classmate.
Huh?
That usually indicates that you were in the same class. And one of y'all either got excelled and somebody got held back. If he's 2 years older than you,
I don't know. They had some
but y'all was
old.
in the same class.
Arthur had some old people in their class, man. There was some people that were driver's license. We're in middle school.
Did they have a driver's license or did they?
They was driving. They was driving.
Because Lena Taylor was driving but didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Lynn explained though. She explained. She explained that when we was at WGOV. She explained why she was driving.
She was driving but didn't have a driver's license and was whipping a Cadillac
Right.
with no driver's license.
Because when she said that, I said, "What?"
Judge Lena Taylor.
And then she told me off here why.
Keith, what does this music usually mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. You listen to Community Voice. We're up on our break.
I don't even know why you let him do that to you.
He got.
I don't even know why you let him.
He knows. He was over here.
I was over there.
He was over here, so he knows what comes with this seat.
That 20 minutes he sat behind the. Oh, okay.
The best 20 minutes of my life. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
What's up? It's Jamiroquai Killer with the Black Policy Initiative. I'm here at WNOV.
Yo, Jamiroquai, so what's one thing you've learned this year that you're thankful for?
And one thing I learned that I'm thankful for is to not be prideful and to not think about myself all the time. You know, I want to spend next year pouring into everybody else except for me, because when I give to others, it always come back.
Can you share a time when you share love to someone?
Man, every day.
Right,
You
right.
know, I got a lot of people around me that help fuel my fire and help make me better. And I want to keep them around. I want to keep them energized because I need them. And so I try to give it back to them every single chance I get.
Hello, my name is Johnny L. Jones, one of the founders of Experience MKE, who proudly presents to all the All Black Experience, which is happening 11/29/24. We are also familiar with the All White Experience in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
So, Johnny, how do you show appreciation to your loved ones during the holidays?
I show my appreciation and gratitude toward the loved ones throughout the holiday, well as the year. Pick up the phone, check on people, because you really never know what anyone is going through, and just you reaching out saying hello, how you doing, need anything. You just don't understand sometimes how much that impact other people sometimes.
Hello, I'm Hope Manuel of Milwaukee Hope Initiative.
So Hope, I got a question for you. Sure, what holiday memory are you most thankful for?
Probably the big Christmases we used to have when I was younger. All the family was there, all the cousins, you know, my both grandparents were still around,
Right.
and, you know, just riding bikes through the living room that we got that morning for Christmas and just tearing up the house.
Thanks. Well, appreciate you.
Thank you.
WNOV, this your boy Jermaine Ryder, producer extraordinaire. What am I most thankful for? I am thankful for family, my kids,
Yeah.
my loved ones, my mom and dad, health and strength to be alive, the staff and management of WNOV. I'm
Facts.
very, very, very grateful for them.
Facts.
And yeah, man, that's what I'm grateful for.
One more thing, man.
Yes, sir.
Are you excited for this holiday season, man?
I'm most definitely excited.
What's one thing you looking forward to during this holiday
Eating
season?
everything, man. I'm looking forward to eating everything that's out on the table.
Okay.
I'm gonna eat everything.
Facts. Perfect. Thank you, man.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Sharp as knives in the drawer.
No, we're not.
I am. I can't say.
No, when they was giving out that address, it just reminded me of Deacon Dickerson. Pat, 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 pat. Repair. We got 5. I said, okay, all right. He come back 15 minutes later. Reverend, I'm sorry, Reverend, I'm sorry. We got 4. We got 4. He was talking about the people getting in the baptismal pool. That's all you're supposed to be looking at.
I'm not going through your phone.
Yes,
It went
you're not.
away, and I was just trying to bring it back up.
God, that's you going on through.
And St. Kate, it just seems like this is St. Kate's.
So,
Oh, it
Michelle,
says
you asked
Milwaukee Food Council.
what was the question you asked this morning, Michelle?
About what? Oh, this is the Milwaukee Food Council doing this.
Oh, it should be nice, right?
Mhm.
What was that question you asked this morning about? Remember, you put it out there.
What question?
I forgot. It was a good question, though. It's
I'm
one of
sure
the-
it was
one
not.
of the few times you've had a good question.
You
Just
said
saying.
one of the few times.
It is so hard. Debo yesterday, he's trying to break up Julia Means' marriage.
I heard you
not
tell
trying
him.
to
Let me
break up
tell
her
him,
marriage.
don't be answering his question. Yep, I heard you. I was like, finally somebody that
Somebody told me, say you didn't make the dress.
Yeah, like, because when Julia said her son was like, why you didn't make the dress in there? And he was like, well, wasn't the dress in there? Yeah.
And who made it? Yeah.
So, yeah, I heard him. And I was so glad you stopped it because he was about to.
Oh,
She was about to
man.
tell it.
Man, she go, man, you got to go home. And I was telling my mom, always asked me, she said, how's the radio program? And I said, oh, they ain't fired me yet. I said, but Mom, I am really surprised at who listens to us.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you have people going up and they become, man, when y'all was talking about, you were listening? And like I said, you never know. And people know, you kind of heard it. I was never a fan of Choice, right? Never been, day one, never been a fan of Choice. I was at WGLB and we were talking, and I'm going on a rant. How can you educate kids at this amount of money and think you're going to get the same product if you educate? Man, I was on a roll. And then get this call. No, they get this call to recognize the voice. It's Bishop Daniels. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you listened. Let me, so you don't know.
And people messy because they'll call people, be like, girl, they talking about you. You might want to turn on. Yeah, Keith talking about school choice. You might want to call in. You might want to listen. Oh, yeah, people will call on you.
Oh, and I know they'll do that because remember Tax and Take.
Yes, I remember.
Tax and Take. And I'm going up here talking about paperwork and
Oh,
man, I was lose my man.
Pastoral
And then I heard, and I don't know,
was about to
Greg called in, and Greg Lewis yelled at me for 20 minutes. So somebody just called me and said, you said. I was like, oh, man. I had preachers not speaking to me.
I'm like, anybody scared of you? Come on up here, bro.
Was that the controversy where they was taking the churches because of the 501c3?
Yeah, they had a whole program down at the city where they were taxing black churches and taking them. They had the whole program, right?
Yeah, I remember.
And that wasn't what the case was, but it turned into that. And here I am trying to be, let's just try to keep the record straight. What'd I do that for?
Let's keep the record straight, or, I'm neutral.
Well, I was trying to be, but then, it turned into something. Some dudes just started speaking to me. That was 3 years ago?
Well, dang, I need an excuse. I could have just used that not to speak to you. Damn.
Oh, I give you a whole list.
Well,
and
run them.
Well, I was going to text them to you, but you don't have your phone.
Which is another show.
She
was ticked off because my beautiful, loving wife went back to our home and got my phone and brought it to me.
Was I ticked off because of that?
Yeah, I wasn't. And no, she ain't gonna. Watch her brain.
Because it was your slick mouth in the way you asked
like
her.
Like I said, watch her brain.
She says, "Well, where's the phone? I don't know. Just find it. Just give it." Like, wait a minute.
No, ain't no wait a minute.
see, this old king of the castle.
Find the phone, ain't man.
He sounds like Ike.
That's right.
And she know he ignorant, so she ignores him. But it just, boy.
She don't ignore me.
She does ignore you. She and I.
Phone lines are lit up.
Y'all still together, so
that's right.
And I'm a bruh, and I'll be going like, "Ooh, that's getting pretty close to the line."
He always.
Together is relative.
You know what?
Together
let's
is
do
relative.
Full disclosure here.
Together,
for all you real men out here, and you got your pants all up in your armpits because you the man of your house. Debo. Stop lying,
Debo.
Stop lying.
And I'll be the first to tell you, I wear the pants. She tells me which ones to wear.
Straight up.
Did you hear him say that Rhonda, because I think I said something like Jackie.
I didn't say nothing about Rhonda. Do not.
And you said, what about, he said, what about Keith's wife? And he's like, oh, yeah, we got to pray for Rhonda. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear him say it because he didn't say it.
I said that.
I
did say that.
Oh, did you?
He said it. He initiated that.
Can we go to a break?
No.
I'm just saying.
We go to the
how
phone
you
line,
weren't willing to believe me?
No, but Keith, she's
it.
taking it way out of context. Trust me. It wasn't intended in that way.
All right. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning. First thing I want to say, I don't think I ever. Hey, what's up?
What's happening, man? It's been a minute.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he'll call you because he called me every day. He'll call you
because he like you, Michelle.
Well, what I was going to say, I don't think nobody will ever really want to kill anybody. Maybe in self-defense, but when it comes to your mother or your father, your kids, that's totally different. Me personally, I jump on Jesus for my mother and father, and just because the fallen angels lost doesn't mean I'm going to lose. Moving forward, when it comes to the churches, we do have too many. The churches are like liquor stores. It's like we're having them on, every corner for some reason. Everybody want to preach the word. And that's, fine, follow your faith. And then what I wanted to say in reference to the schools, we have this thing that our culture have adopted called the redneck mentality.
Ooh.
and they need to give it back.
What is
Because
that?
that's not, well, the redneck mentality is it's an understanding where you lower your standards and you don't really push for more. Prime example, in the late 2000s, when everything started going from sugar to sugar, honey, iced tea, the school system really wasn't at weight, and people were more involved. But now you have these, I want to say, the parents from the crack cocaine era, where they kind of just let the cards fall. You know, prime example, people say, well, I live in the hood. No, but you live in a neighborhood. Your understanding is hood. When you allow your kids not to go to school, you know, it's a certain understanding. Our culture was not about that. They got that from the redneck culture, and they need to give it back. And when they give it back, everything will change in our whole neighborhood. It's a mentality and a mindset that black people adopted. Give it back. That's not who black culture was. Have a good day.
All right, thank
Me
you.
too.
You know, I'm a big Nicole Wallace fan, great speech writer, and she penned probably one of the greatest lines in U.S. history when they were doing No Child Left Behind. She called it the soft bigotry of low expectations. And I'm thinking, dude, that is where, yeah. And if we get back to Choice, because Choice was really based on Marva Collins, right? What she did down in Chicago, the Marva Collins preparatory schools.
Right.
Marva Collins was demanding. She was academically demanding of these young folks.
Right.
Right. Her whole idea, and you saw this also in the Claire Muhammad schools, you can excel. And I'm gonna put you in a position to excel. Right. But I have a high expectation.
And that's what I was gonna say.
There
were expectations. My frustration with so many of these schools were it was people looking for a hustle. Way too many of the operators were folks that were just looking. You know, we would see the horror stories. Kids going to schools, didn't have lunches, no lights. Whenever that one big scandal was going on with the one brother, you know, y'all got nice houses, fine cars, but these kids are not being educated. I think about what, you know, this man did over here. Raheem. You know, it's just like some of this was just about money grab.
It's the hustle. And here's the thing. And these supposed to be, we're supposed to be conscious. And I don't know if we always appreciate the value of our children and the responsibility to invest in those kids. I mean, you know, because the argument that Polly was making was that, well, it'll make a difference if the teachers look like the kids. And there have been studies out there showing, for example, girls in math. If they have a female math teacher, they see themselves in her, right? Because we try to make girls don't be smart, right? We kind of becomes the attitude with girls on one level. But if I have a teacher who, just like Ken Eshelman, says, I don't see that. What I see in you is your potential. And I want you to be able, because it's one thing for people to see my potential, but there's another thing for me to see my potential. Right. And I think that becomes that epiphany that you have. When he said that to me, he was saying that, I know you're trying to make it sound like it's because you're black. It ain't got nothing to do with that, dude. It's because you're lazy. And he said it in so many words, and it was like, yeah, you know, I'm right. So I'm going to go home and wait on that letter. And I waited, but man, I did so well my freshman year. Carla, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, you got it. I don't know how to start this, but I wanted to say, I think we have opinions, and I think at all times, most of us want to be right. I don't care if you guys or the talk show host. And a lot of times, I do agree strongly with, especially Michelle. Now, there's been times that I have not agreed with Michelle, but a lot of times I agree with Michelle, especially when it comes to politics.
George, are you on speaker?
Sorry.
It's okay.
But I think it gets frustrating sometimes when you have talk show hosts who think they know everything and that callers don't know anything. And
sorry about that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Keith.
My bad.
And that gets frustrating sometimes. That's just my opinion. But I'm gonna give you an example of something that happened. I've been kind of holding this back because I didn't know how to do this. Because sometimes we can be messy to us callers, especially me. business and all that kind of stuff. And so I called Sherwin one day, and I was kind of joking. You know, Sherwin likes to joke around a lot, right? Because I even asked Michelle, "You sure he wasn't joking, Michelle?" I had texted her, "You sure he wasn't joking?" Because he likes to joke a lot. So I called his Michelle, and I said, "Sherwin, you was joking about that stuff you said about Michelle. Do you know he went off on me? Went off heavy on me." And so I'm like, you know, Sherwin, I was really actually just joking. I called to talk about something else, but if you're taking it that serious, I'm gonna let you go right now. And so I called back maybe like 3 weeks later, and they had me on hold. He came on while I was on hold and said, "George, you didn't call here to start no SHIT about that Michelle stuff, did you?" And he said, "You got a lot of people upset, and you cause a lot of ruckus on my show and stuff like that." And I'm like, "Are you for real, dude?"
Oh, you didn't know about the East Capitol,
so
West Capitol?
That really, you know, that really touched his, you know, I don't know if it hurt his feelings or what, but it's just like, you know, I even like with Tory yesterday, I said, when people was saying down with Joe Biden or whatever, you was calling them, not really out of their name, but something wrong with y'all and all this kind of stuff, right? So a lot of people been calling the show, getting on him about Donald Trump. He will overtalk. He won't let you get a word in. So I texted him yesterday and I said, "Tory, why if somebody don't agree with you, why don't you let them get their opinion out so people can hear their other opinion?" And so what I'm saying is that when you guys have that, like Michelle just said about somebody, keep somebody that how they won't let you get your opinion out, I think that would be a good thing. Because I even told him, I said, "Dude, you let Al come on your show and say all kind of crazy stuff." And as soon as I said that, he hung the phone up on me.
That's great for ratings.
And I'm like, sometimes people can be so sensitive. And I'm like, I ain't a violent dude. But that made me want to climb through the telephone almost. I'm like, you the one brought it up talking about Michelle, but you don't want nobody else to have an opinion about it. That really got him upset. And that bothered me for a while. Actually, my brother's like, do they pay your bills? And I'm like, no. He said, well, let it go. But it did bother me. I'm like, that he would do that, you know, to somebody that had an opinion. But because you brought something up and you didn't like that, you got something started with Michelle, that you didn't like people calling in, and you're going to do that because I had an opinion. I didn't even call for that. He took me offline to ask me if I called his show to start some shit about Michelle. Excuse my friend. I'm like, no, that's not what I called for. But Sherwin, if you're that sensitive to that, you should have never brought it up in the first place.
Where are we right now with the beef?
Where's the beef?
Well, George, I certainly understand what it is you
George,
say.
thanks
You
for the
know,
call.
I don't know if I'm even saying it right. I don't know what it did to me.
No. Because number one, you know, I think also, and I'm saying this as a person who, you know, was on the other side of the phone, you know, so as the caller, you begin to almost understand that you have a relationship with people too. You know, I know my regular callers to the show. I know who calls Keith and don't call me. You know, so you know who your relationships are. And people will see me out in public and they will talk to me like I've been knowing them my whole life, but they only know me through the radio. You understand that people have formed a relationship with you. And so when people handle you crazy, because it seems like we should have some kind of understanding, because I call you all the time, you know, and so you're not going to handle me just any kind of way and talk to me crazy, and so it can become frustrating because I'm like, I help your show go. Forget you, Keith. I contribute. I'm a part of it.
I would be a journalist.
I'm just
so
saying.
Who would call my show that would call your show?
Why you acting like you're not being a journalist? You're acting like diva. That's what you're doing. You're acting like diva.
Is there people who call me that call you the show?
George, it's frustrating, you know. And
you know, Michelle, when I first met you, at all the years we met, I don't think we ever personally were introduced to one another. The first time I think I saw you was at Eric Bond's homegoing service.
Okay.
And I looked over and I'm like, I wonder if that's Michelle, but I didn't come and introduce myself to you.
Okay.
But at Keon's thing, when I came and introduced myself to you, it made me feel so good.
Oh, you had never met her?
No, and I could be wrong, Michelle. I could be wrong, but the look in your eye, you you had such a big smile in your eyes, and my face, me and your face, that we finally met each other.
Right.
And it was so happy to see you, because I've only seen you on the radio. Now, Keith, that's a whole different story, but I ain't gonna.
George, this was crazy, dude. I was at a funeral, and this dude from behind, I thought it was you. Because, he had the...
You thought it was George?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it had the pony. I thought, man, I walked up. You ain't George? And I'm looking, I'm going, that ain't Brenda. But you know what, George? You know what's real interesting?
Trying to start some stuff. That ain't Brenda. Watch him, George. Watch him.
Because Keith will set you up.
Oh, no, not that kind of dude. But one of the things I took away, and it's interesting, I'm not going to call it.
I'm going to let y'all go.
I appreciate you, man. I'm not going to call any names.
Y'all, man.
Yes,
but
sir.
I used to listen to this one particular person who was here, and I said, it was condescending. You didn't know anything. I know everything.
Right.
And it was kind of going like, no, man, we don't. And Michelle just made a great point. It's the callers that really drive it, right? Because if people are not calling in, everybody ain't out there contemplating what you're saying, that maybe they're not listening. But I just learned that, man. And then here's another thing I discovered being here is that the callers are so much smarter than me. And that's always apparent.
That. You didn't just figure that out.
No, I'm saying 6 years ago, just figured it out.
Oh,
because I used to be
the
smarter.
The callers are getting smarter
every day.
They're getting smarter, and you
got one. Okay, yeah. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Pastor Keith. I got another joke for you this morning. I hope you get this one.
Oh boy.
You have family members texting me trying to explain it to me.
All right, follow me. Just follow me.
All right.
Sunday morning church service. Pastor got up and said, the first person who can donate $1,000 to the building fund, you can pick the first 3 hymns. You got me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We're listening.
As he said that, old lady in the back stood up, said, Pastor, I'll donate $1,000, and I picked the first 3 hymns. Pastor said, okay. Old lady looked around the church. She said, okay, I'll pick him, and him. Come on, Keith, wake up.
Now I'm going to give you the response. Here it comes.
Not the crickets, man.
Yeah, you get crickets. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. I guess I'll try.
One day.
How about that? I got one more for you.
Okay, now listen. The object is to get this.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get this one.
So try it again.
Pastor was walking down the street one day. He saw 5 kids. They was gathered around this puppy. So Pastor walked up and said, hey, how y'all doing? What y'all doing? The kids said, we're going to see who can tell the biggest lie. And whoever can tell this biggest lie, they get the puppy. So Pastor said, well, you're not supposed to tell lies. When I was coming up, I never told a lie. So all the kids looked at each other and said, okay, Pastor, you can have a dog. All right, let me go to the workshop. I'll try y'all again.
You gotta get back in the writer's room, man.
Okay, Pastor, you can have a dog.
Well, that's what I was figuring. I figured that's where we're going with that.
Yeah. You got another call.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, I'm sorry to double dip, but I just wanted to say something. Whatever 2 people have going on, they have to work that out themselves. The more you keep asking questions, you're kind of pouring gasoline on a fire. So whatever Michelle going through with, or let me rephrase that. Nobody's going through anything. They are 2 powerful entities. They have to work that out. Well, sometimes when you keep asking questions, you're dangling gasoline over a fire. And who ends up getting burned? The person who's dangling the gasoline. So let it rest. And when they're ready to talk, they will talk. But to keep asking questions.
But let me say this.
What?
If you don't want nobody saying nothing to you, then don't be saying nothing. And
I
so when
agree.
you decide to air whatever frustrations or drama you have on the radio, then you open yourself up to people calling and asking questions. So if I bring some up on the radio, then I expect what comes with me bringing it up on the radio because you put it in a public space. So and I appreciate the advice to listeners or callers like, hey, y'all, let people do their thing. But the other part we got to say is don't do your thing in public because then you ain't got to worry about nobody saying nothing to you. But the minute you put it out there, it's fair game for people to talk about and to get at you.
And I understand that. All I'm trying to say, y'all are both intelligent, bright people. And the only way it's going to be fixed, and I'm not pouring no gas on no gasoline, because it's not my issue. All I'm saying is that's something you and the other party are going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to be clear. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I don't have nothing to do with it.
And I'm not picking on George. I'm not picking on George or nothing. I'm just saying, like, it's almost like when you know the pastor's beating up his wife.
Ooh.
And you keep asking and you keep asking. Sometimes stop asking. When they're ready to talk, they will talk. But don't put yourself in the line of fire.
You said the
that's all
pastor's
I'm
been
saying.
beating on his wife?
That's easy.
Well, you know that used to go back. You know that used to go back on in the day when he come home and he be so drunk he be falling to the walls like he in a ping pong team.
And he drunk.
And then he'll whip it out and pee in the sink and fall asleep with his eyes red as the devil with spit falling out his mouth. And he started urinating on himself.
How'd you get that?
But
video?
really, when he
how'd you get that video?
Well, I'm just saying sometimes just let things kind of, rest. That's all I'm saying. Because I like to see everybody live in peace and harmony. And I don't like seeing powerful people being put in a position or any position to kind of go against each other. That's all I'm saying.
All right, man. Appreciate
So y'all have a good one.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Yeah, Keith. I think you should go to break. If you're gonna be singing,
Oh no, man. We was. I told you, man. We can do a little something, man. Maybe I can replace one of your background vocalists.
Hey, let's make it do what it do.
All right. We got callers?
No, not right now.
Okay. Hey, phone lines open, y'all. And I haven't heard anybody call in. You have to say whether or not, if you were president of the United States, you would pardon your child. Love to hear what you think. 414-444-5250. 414-444-5250. Gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Ring in the holiday cheer. The Milwaukee Holiday Lights Festival.
The holidays. And holiday trips. And holiday toys. And holiday bonding. And it all comes together in a Chevrolet.
Find your red tag. Get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups. Plus, get $3,750 total value on this Silverado when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Chevrolet. Together, let's.
I'm Stephen Hopkins, Program Manager for Critical Response Team. I'm at WNOV right now.
So, Stephen, what's something simple that you're thankful for today?
Being alive and free.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Is there something you're looking forward to this holiday season?
Seeing my loved ones and, spending some time with them.
Perfect.
Amen.
WNOV, this your boy Jermaine Rideout, producer extraordinaire. What am I most thankful for? I am thankful for family, my kids, my loved ones, my mom and dad, health and strength to be alive, the staff and management of WNOV. I'm
Facts.
very, very, very grateful for them.
Facts.
And yeah, man, that's what I'm grateful for.
One more thing, man.
Yes, sir.
Are you excited for this holiday season, man?
I'm most definitely excited.
What's one thing you looking forward to during this holiday
Eating
season?
everything, man. I'm looking forward to eating everything that's out on the table.
Okay.
I'm going to eat everything.
Facts. Perfect. Thank you, man.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Deslyn. I'm here at WNOV, and I'm from United Garden Homes, Inc.
So, Deslyn, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What holiday memories are you most thankful for?
I'm most thankful for the holiday memories of spending time with my family, my mom, my dad, and all of the Smith and Adams family. Hey, that's what I'm thankful for.
One more question.
Yes.
Is there something you looking forward to this holiday season?
I'm looking for some peace and quiet and family time.
Give me some of that.
What's up? It's Jamiroquai Killer with the Black Policy Initiative. I'm here at WNOV.
Yo, Jamiroquai. So, what's one thing you've learned this year that you're thankful for?
And one thing I learned that I'm thankful for is to not be prideful and to not think about myself all the time. You know, I want to spend next year pouring into everybody else except for me, because when I give to others, it always come back.
Can you share a time when you share love to someone?
Man, every day.
Right.
You know, I got a lot of people around me that help fuel my fire and help make me better. And I want to keep them around. I want to keep them energized because I need them. And so I try to get...
Hello, my name is Johnny L. Jones, one of the founders of Experience MKE, who proudly presents to all the All Black Experience, which is happening 11/29/24. We are also familiar with the All White Experience in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
So, Johnny, how do you show appreciation to your loved ones during the holidays?
I show my appreciation and gratitude toward the loved ones throughout the holiday, well as the year. Pick up the phone, check on people, because you really never know what anyone is going through, and just you reaching out saying hello, how you doing, need any.
Community Voice. Again, the phone lines are open 414-444-5250. 414-444-5250. Again, Wednesday's Word. Oh, actually, not Wednesday's Word. It's the word of the year. According to the Oxford Dictionary, is brain rot. It goes back. There was another term. I think I'll deal with this next Wednesday that we kind of talked about a little bit inside of Be Healthy Be You yesterday. But I think next Wednesday's word is going to be design obsolescence. And I think that term it's fascinating to me in terms of our whole America now. You know, when I was born, America was still a manufacturing-based economy. And graduating from college, we discovered that America was transitioning from a manufacturing-based economy where we were doing a lot of production to a more consumer-based economy. And so now everything you look at is, not everything, but a significant portion of our economy is relative to consumers or service, right? If you look at healthcare, they said healthcare is like 1/8 of the economy. And a lot of that expansion, happened under the Affordable Care Act. And so we're not building like we used to build, right? If you look at your car, now we do have something called a domestic content law that says that if BMW is building cars in South Carolina, a portion of the car the material has to be made in America, but certainly the car has to be put together in America. And that, just says how our economy is shifting and changing, and even the skill sets that people need today in the economy were different than they were 40 years ago. So, obviously with the advancement of computer and digital technology, what we're able to do now is just looking at my phone. My phone is my computer, and so some of us, we are, it's just like those phones have been surgically attached to us. And I guess it can happen when you have a conversation, but I'm just amazed when you see people And who are they talking to? None of my business, but who are they talking to? And you out going to the store, and so it's with that. Hey, how about the Bucks? They won their pool in the NBA Cup, so I think they get a home game. I'm trying to think who they get their first home game. So they made the quarterfinals. I don't know if they made the quarterfinals last. Thought didn't the Pacers might have eliminated them last year. So Bucks are looking good. They're over 500, 2 games over 500 now. So in some ways they've righted the ship. Chris Middleton, I think, is doing 5-on-5 scrimmages. So probably looking at his return within, probably the next 30 days or so. And then this is giving a lot of these younger players opportunities. Jackson is playing really well. I got Jermaine's guy, AJ Green. So it got tough there. Damon Lillard, of course, is doing well. Giannis is doing well. And so you get that final piece, and to they could be competitive. We didn't know, excuse me, at the beginning of the year, beginning of the season, what this is going to look like. But so the Bucks are they look like they're going to do all right. And again, it's kind of early for me to even be talking about basketball, but I think because the Bucks had gotten off to such a horrendous start, for me anyway, it set off alarms. And so I've been watching them play, and you're seeing the improvement. And again, and this is the NBA, it really does come down to keeping your players on the floor, right? You need to have your best players on the floor. And injuries are one of those things that has major impact. And Chris Middleton injury, if nothing else, that's 20, 23 points a game consistently. And not to have that. But then again, you give other people another opportunity to play in their playing time, and you get better. And so we'll see. But that was a big win last night in Detroit. And so I'm trying to see who they got. I'll pull up and see who they got in the NBA Cup. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. And just to answer the question, that I'd asked, I probably would. I probably would pardon my child. And like Michelle was saying, it does make a difference. If it's your kid, it's one thing. It's somebody else's kid. So here we got. Let me give you the brackets in the East. The Bucks have the Magic, so it means the Magic will be coming in next week. And we have Coach Mosley. Everyone knows his dad, Baba James Mosley. He coaches the Magic, and then the Knicks will host the Hawks. The Bucks play the Hawks tonight. In the West, it's the Thunder versus the Mavericks, and then the Rockets versus the Warriors. The Warriors lost like 5 straight. So, and so that starts next Tuesday, December the 10th. And then, next Tuesday. So we'll see. This is the knockout round, it's win or go home. And so it gives you some. And they really kind of copied what they did. I think it's called the Commissioner's Cup in the WNBA. And it looks like the people that we didn't get the franchise this year, but for the WNBA, Golden State did. So Golden State will have a WNBA franchise, and they do the supplemental draft. I think it's next Tuesday. For them the expansion draft. Those of us kind of remember back in the day, the NBA has not expanded since, I want to say, the early 90s. The last 2 expansion teams, let's see, Orlando, right? And but even before that, the NBA used to have the expansion draft, and you could protect be 6 players, 7 players. And so we'll see what it looks like in terms of WNBA. So that should be good for the Bucks. Come on in, bro. Good for the Bucks. Yeah. All right. So Milwaukee, New York, Atlanta, Orlando, Oklahoma City, Houston, Golden State, and Dallas. Oh man. And so conceivably, if the Mavericks beat the Thunder and the Warriors beat the Rockets, we could have another Klay Thompson revenge game, huh? Yeah, that'd be beautiful. Brother Kwaku, how are you, man?
I'm doing good.
What's on your mind, man? You smiling? What you laughing about?
I just been listening to your show all morning, and I was just like, I said, I don't know if I've ever heard Al that calm in anything that he's ever said.
And how about him being
the voice of reason?
Yeah, be the peacemaker and all of that.
And it's just like, it's like you say, you only see certain parts of people, and he is great for radio with his voice and with the things that he add. But to see that other level of humanity, and you can tell that he really cares, because he's like, these are both powerful people in the city that's got a voice that want to do good. And nothing really good comes from our community if they not on the one accord. But I agree 100% with Michelle. If it's in private, it's stay in private. But once you put it in public, you create a whole different type of animal.
And you know what? That ain't no victims. If you stepping up saying it, know that there are things that come with your behavior.
Yeah, if I'm gonna say something, I'm gonna be 10 toes down. Right. And sometimes you take an L. If it's an L, you take the L, admit it, move on.
I was telling Debo, Michelle and I rarely talk about what goes on, and we were kidding because I forgot they had moved, but we used to say that this was East Coast, West Coast. They used to be down on East Capitol, right? We on West Capitol, right? I'm going like, we beefing? But it's always, and this is not the first time that I can remember, because Earl Ingram and what's my guy at the Truth? I can't think of his name. Sherwin. They were kind of going back and forth on Facebook. Look, man, we all got our lanes, right? And we all have our demographics, and I don't know, but can't we all get along?
No, that's the problem with us.
What's that?
We can't get along
because we're human.
Yeah,
there's always conflict. What they say, that peace is the absence of conflict, and as long as we're living, there's going to be conflict. We have conflict in our relationships, and
see, that's why I'm doing the brain rot. I just move away from it all.
The brain rot.
I tell you,
that's a pretty good word, man. That's that. Because my mom used to, because I wanted all my buddies. They had comic books, and my mother would never let me read a comic book. As close as I got to the comics were the Sunday comics. And we didn't get the paper regularly. So you see how often. So I would sneak. Like, you got dudes out there.
Funnies.
Yeah, you got dudes out there now. They either Marvel or DC. I was neither, man. I have to read a real book, fellas. How was your Thanksgiving, man?
You know what? It's good whenever you with family and friends and food. Free time, you can't be. The only thing is they do this father-son football game every year, and I always think I'm younger than what I am.
Y'all do a turkey bowl?
Yeah, and when I'm out there, I'm good. It's just the next day.
What was you doing? Quarterback?
No, I was receiver.
Who was the quarterback?
Oh, different people will rotate, different fathers and whatnot. So you got people out there from 8 to 60.
A man should know his limitations. There's so many 40-year-old brothers, 40-plus-year-old brothers walking around here in boots. Like, you tore up your Achilles. Yeah, man, I was out there trying to play with my son. Wrong.
No. See, that's what you do. It's the mind. It's mind over matter. You never tell yourself you're old. You just gotta make some accommodation.
Oh yeah.
Like Jordan game. He wasn't dunking all the time. You got to understand what you can do, what's in the rotation. So with that intelligence comes a different shit in your game.
No.
So you shoot at the 3-point line, so you ain't got to run as far. That's
except age. Accept it,
Father
man.
Time is undefeated. Certain sports that you got to say goodbye to.
Oh man, and the good thing was I was able to walk away from basketball. You know how I stopped playing basketball?
What'd you tear?
I didn't tear anything. I walked away. But you know why I walked away?
You saw
because when you
somebody
get old. Because when you get old, you playing in the fourth game.
So their ego got
Right,
the ball.
ego, man. They doing like they don't pass you the ball. You know, they calling you pops. So you going like, wait a minute, man.
Oh, school,
right?
school. I'm open.
What gave it away? Was it the tube socks? Was it the tube socks and the red, black, and green sweatband and the headband and
Newport behind you?
Right, got this Newport ready. You know, I used to do that billboard. That advertising Newport had, like you see the dudes just get finished playing ball and all of us out there smoking Newports. It's just like we defeated the whole purpose of being out there, man. I got a call. Okay, caller, what to the program?
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, I got you. Let me turn you down and take off.
Is that what I sound like? Turn that
Nobody's
down, man.
answering your question. You better believe it. I would pardon my son. I would not leave my son out there for bait, because you know that's what they was going to do. They was going to come after that man and just use him up. Trump is a very spiteful, petty. I don't even know what other words to add to it, but heck no, I wouldn't have left my son out there like that, my son or my daughter.
You know what, George? And when I heard that it was a 10-year pardon, well, why didn't he do 10 years? Because of Burisma. And they've been trying to go after Hunter Biden with Burisma when, you know, Trump was in office.
That encompassed
all of that.
2014.
Yeah. I mean, because he knew what was happening. He knew what was coming. And so, and Michelle makes a great point. If Kamala Harris wins the election, that don't happen.
None of this is even.
That only happen because
But you know,
the impact it would have on her presidency. But he ain't got nothing to lose. What you gonna do? Not vote for him?
Chief, Eric Holden was on your show, right?
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of these talk shows, and they said people that have been prosecuted for a crime like that, they said it never would have happened.
No.
The only reason he came after him was because he was Joe Biden's son, because he's a spiteful person.
Oh, and I think it was a political piece too. There was a political thing, and been able to talk about the corruption of Joe Biden's son, because we were talking about how his family had basically enlarged their fortune using the presidency, right? So I think that it was political, where it came down to what it was, because there was some truth there. That laptop was real.
Yeah.
And what was ever in that laptop, it was real. So if you got the power to do it, why wouldn't you do it?
I guess my whole thing is with this dude, all the stuff he has done, where is the grace that you would want to pass on to somebody else? That, you know, this dude, I don't know what this dude got behind him. I guess the devil is real, because it sure ain't God that this dude is getting away with everything that he has gotten away with, Keith. You know what I tell people? He might get away with it here. And I do believe that there is a God. I do believe that there's a heaven and a hell. I believe that. Will he gonna reap after this? Because he said he never have to repent for anything. Didn't he say that?
Mm-hmm. No, he said he's never regretted doing anything.
I thought he said he didn't have to repent for anything that he's ever done. That's what I thought, so I could be wrong. But if that's the way he feels, there's a whole bunch waiting for him. That's my belief. Now, everybody else can have their own belief about heaven and hell, but that's what I believe.
You know what? And one of the few times where I saw he publicly express vulnerability was that walk that he took from the White House to the helicopter when he had COVID. And what I saw was a man who was scared he was going to die.
Oh yeah, that will make you call him.
Yeah, he looked like he was scared he was going to die, and I'm going like, wow, and let me do this, and I kept saying, Lord, don't let him die.
Why?
Because I wanted to vote his ass out. So
No, I shouldn't have said why.
no, that's why I kept saying.
I thought you didn't want him to become a martyr.
No, or that. Well, but that
they
would
would've
have
martyred
just
Donald Trump.
brought it home. All the people that lost their lives because of his arrogance.
I thought it would have been a poetic justice.
Yeah, it was poetic that he got it, and then when he got it,
And then
because
went to Walter Reed to get the best of the help.
How
No
about
bleach
that?
in the arm.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't he take the experimental drug? That's how
Yeah,
he was.
right.
He's like, give me what you got.
Right.
Right.
Well,
and so for him to be putting all that false narrative out, and this is what really got me. the inauguration. He didn't show up to the inauguration,
I
right?
was just thinking about that. Yeah.
And what's the other thing that him and Biden did when they shook hands in the White House? He didn't even show up to that. So I mean, the dude is petty, man. And for those who did not hear me, I said when I called Sherwin, because Sherwin likes to joke around, and I even explained that to Sherwin, I'm just joking, I'm playing, man. You know, I thought I was making a joke, but the thin skin, that's what I'm trying to get across people. The thin skinness of it, for him to really take that personally, to treat me like that. Because if you listen to his show, he talk about everybody and everything. And so, like Michelle said, when you put stuff out there, and that's why I even said, well, if you didn't want nobody to comment on it, brother, you shouldn't have put it out there. You should have kept that to yourself. Because once you put something out there, whether it's me, like just two people commenting on what I just said, when you put stuff out there, you open yourself up. Thank you. God bless y'all.
Thanks. Appreciate that, man. So how's it looking, man? The Bucks handle a little business.
I know it looked like they got it together. They're getting stronger. I think they still needed to get ready to like gel with those two big powerhouses, and I think they finally figuring out how to play together. They'll win the N-Cup Championship Series, and that'll propel them in the second half, so? Whether or not they win it. Yeah, because now LeBron and them made it a big thing. Like when they put the banner up in L.A., they made that N-Cup Series.
How much did they got? There was some
good
money.
You get some money too.
Yeah,
the league made it interesting, but now it's a thing of pride too.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is this year.
You get every time you move, you know, it's
you
like
get more. And for the people who don't really get paid, it becomes even more important for them.
Man,
so
makes a real big difference. All right, let me thank
bragging rights.
Let me thank Michelle, Carvey, Debo, quite cool. What up, Jay, man? We got that address straight. It took us a while, man, but we got it straight. Can you do a little slower for me? I can write it down. Hey, the good Lord willing, creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow, and as always, go from this place in peace.
In the evening,